And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the semi-finals of Sparkling Tuna Cup number 76. Again, it's going to be a bit of a shorter broadcast here tonight, but it's so good because we're here to support our players. We're here to experience some StarCraft. As spawning in the top right-hand corner of Frostline, we have the red Terran player representing the Platinum Heroes. It is Nicoract. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the blue Protoss player. The blue Protoss from South Korea, it is Ordinary. There you go, and if you're in the chat, predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck. Best of luck in the chat, as honestly, this could go either way. If you've been tuning into the podcast, if you've been tuning into specifically the OSC Elite Rising Star Tournament, then you would know that Ordinary has been popping off. Like, it's one of those things where, not even just in that tournament, but we've been casting Ordinary in these other online open tournaments, like the Wardy TV Mondays and some of these other events. KSL comes to mind. Actually, KSL was a big one. And if you remember, Ordinary, he was popping off. Like, he was taking down some big names. He was taking down players like Trap, taking down players like Nightmare as well. Like, Ordinary, he was crazy. For those who, again, don't know, especially if you're maybe a little bit newer to the scene, or if you haven't been watching like online events, and especially Korean events over the past couple of years, like 2020 onwards, Ordinary, he is otherwise known as Chance. He's been competing for a couple of years at this point, and he's one of the more amateur players that really rose up during the COVID era of StarCraft. Like, when I think of Ordinary, I think of Quanta, right? I think of Quanta, I think of Hon Mono, I think of 3 Point, I think of Stephen Curry, I think of Luna C. Like, a lot of these guys all kind of rose up during that period, and Ordinary, he did achieve quite a bit of success for himself, but he never quite broke into like Code S. You know, Ordinary and a lot of these other players, they're more of like these Code A players, if that makes sense. You know, like this tier just below the pros in South Korea. I mean, on the one hand, I mean, it shows just how competitive South Korea is as a region, how difficult it is to break into the upper echelons and even break into Code S. And Ordinary never quite did break through that. And I know that he was struggling from a lot of just stress. Like, he was just really stressed out. He put a lot of pressure on himself as well when competing. He would always have some decent results here and there, but struggled to be consistent. Then he retired. Then he stepped away from the game. And he recently came back. I say recently, like maybe 2 months ago. Like 2 months ago, he came back. He name changed from Chance to Ordinary. That's like a bit of a like commentary on him. Like, he's often very down on himself. He's often, you know, just very harsh on his play, and very harsh on himself as well. And, you know, he's calling himself just he's like Oliveira. He's just a normal man. he's just ordinary. But despite that, when he came back, he was actually getting really good results. And part of me feels like, because he's only part-time, because he's not a full-time player anymore, because he, you know, this is more of a hobby more than anything for him, that a lot of that pressure was taken off his shoulders, and he's been actually like playing well. It's crazy. it's hi. So yeah, got a lot of love here for Ordinary, and we'll see how he does perform here tonight. Meanwhile, we do have Nicoract opening up once again with Reaper Hellion. Does dive in. Do we get the force field? Oh, boys are being pulled, and we do get the force field on the ramp. Very nice. Oh my god, the probes, they line up for a moment, but last Ordinary will shut this down. We'll lose 2 probes in the process, but only 2 workers. Meanwhile, Reaper does bust into the main. Very low HP so far. It does thread the mineral line, and he's going for the probes. Oh, he's going for them, and it looks like he will get 1. 3 in total. 3 probes in total. All in all, though, that is not a bad trade for Ordinary. Looking at the Unisource tab here, that was 4 probes for 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions. In the end, a better trade for the Protoss. In the end, it is going to be a better trade here for Ordinary. Meanwhile, across the map, Nicoract, he is not done. He is not done. He's building up here, gearing up towards his 3-1-1 setup. Do you see what I see? No starport. No starport. 2nd and 3rd ranks. This looks like a 2-base all-in. 2-base all-in out of Ordinary. He is gearing up and getting ready for a stim timing. Stim with, I want to say, around 3 tanks. Around 3 tanks here is what we're looking for. And Nicoract has the option to pull the boys. He will have the option to pull the boys with this as well. The reason why this looks like an all-in, and this most likely is going to be an all-in, is that Nicoract, he did not invest into a starport. He is intentionally delaying his starport in favor of extra production, of extra Marines, extra Marauders, just extra army here to dedicate towards that push. And the hallucination confirms. So big scout by Ordinary. He sees the production. He knows how dedicated this is. He knows how aggressive this is, and we'll see if he can slow this down. It is so important here because Ordinary did open up Blink that he is active with these Stalkers and he actively slows down the push. And the way this works here is that Ordinary, he wants to pick away at the Marines, ideally get a Marauder, get a tank, get anything he can before the army gets across the map. As it gets across the map, I should say. As it's moving out, this army here has to just chip away at the forces of Nicoract, slow him down, to the point where by the time he gets across the map, it's not enough of a threatening force, and then Ordinary can hold and survive. Meanwhile, he does have high ground vision. There's the Unsiege! He does what the Unsiege, we spoke about it. There we go, we pull the boys. It's a 2-base all in. 2-base all in out of it. Nicoract. Ordinary dives into the main base, will cave the production. Boys are being pulled. And can he snipe the upgrade? Oh, no, he can. He can and he will. Not Stim, but he does deny combat shields. It was a bit of a gamble. Likewise going for Stim as well, but it looks like Stim will finish up in a couple of seconds and it will complete. Whew, just in time. Stim will finish, and here comes the army. Now, on the one hand, this is great, right? He denied combat shields, he picks up a Marauder, but at the same time, the army is still here, and the army is massive. And he didn't slow it down. Didn't slow down production, at least reinforcements. Tanks, they siege up. Tank boys going to be going up. Oof. Tank boys here on the Stalkers. And the gateways, they're under fire. First gateway is going to be going down. Ordinary in trouble. Nicoract slowly pushing forward, getting within range of the Robo. And it looks like we might just barely get that second Immortal. It's going to be close. We get the Chrono. Oh no! The Artosis Pylon goes down. Everything gets depowered. The Robo does fall. The second Immortal gets denied. And Ordinary, he's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble here. He has to try to break out. So dives on top of the tanks. But alas, he will not be able to break through. The boys have arrived. The boys are here. Likewise, Fro's being pulled. There's only one Immortal left. It looks like Nicoract, he will do it. He will break on through. Breaks through the main army. Cripples the production. And there's just not enough left here for Ordinary. Again, it was a really cool move for him to go into the main the way that he did. If he had sniped Stim, that may have been worth it. To be honest, he gambled. It was 50-50, right? Which tech lab did he deny? And if he had gotten Stim, and maybe he holds, like Stim would have been huge. But it was combat shields. Well, it's combat shields in the end. Zelda coming from behind. The army is over-stimmed. He's getting on top of the tank. The tank is going to go down. But Ordinary, he's lost so much in the process, and there's still a standing army. Ordinary is down to 2 Zealots. More reinforcements on the way. There's another warp in. There's the NG overcharge, but another tank has arrived. And again, Nicoract, he barely has enough. Barely has enough to keep on going. Shaving off more Zealots. Oh. And again, Nicoract, he can keep pulling this off. Now, fun fact, Ordinary still ahead in probes. Like, that just shows how all-in Nicoract was. Like, Nicoract was completely all-in. He pulled so many workers. And Ordinary does have an economic lead over him. But what about the tech? Remember, the Robo got sniped. Likewise, we lost the third base as well, right? The Natural, I should emphasize, Natural did fall. Nicoract backs off. Ordinary, he's still technically in this game. He's still in this, but it's not going to be easy. Not going to be easy. This is his army. 3 Stalkers. He has Blink. He has Micro Potential. But all Nicoract has to do is just calm things down, back off. He's getting into 2 more Raxes. What does this mean? This means no third CC. Nicoract, he had a choice. He could have thrown down a 3rd command center or 2 more Raxes. He chose Raxes. He chose violence here. And he's just building up and getting ready for a second wave, a second all-in. Now, as he's gearing up for a second all-in, that's Storm. Storm is on the way for Ordinary. And he is slowly recovering here. And if he can finish Storm, if he can land some juicy connections on this army, I was going to say that Ordinary could try and take a fight and could hold, but that's a lot of Marauders. Like this, the problem here is it's so Marauder heavy. And even if a Storm connects Marauders, they don't care. At least they don't care about 1 Storm. They care a little bit about 2 Storms, but like even then, like Marauders, they're built to tank. So I can envision a scenario where Storm comes in and then Nicoract, he just runs through, right? Like he just like battles through the Storm anyway, gets on top of the army. It's not going to be an easy army to stop here. There's a scan, Observer gets sniped. Nicoract's moving out. Storm is about to finish. And does he pull the boys with this? Gee, I mean, oh my god, there's just so many Marauders. Look at this tab. It's almost as many Marauders as there are Marines. That's 15 Marauders and 18 Marines for Nicoract. Like, it's crazy. Speaking of Zealots, they do come in from behind. They catch some reinforcements. I mean, again, this is a good trade here for Ordinary, but once again, here comes the main army. Okay, 3 Storms. There's gonna be 3 Storms, Pappy. And he's diving in. There's the first Storm, not bad, but here come the splits. There's a second Storm, and there's 1 more left. Most of the Marines go down, but the Marauders do survive. Ooh, they shut down the Stalkers. They get 1, they get 2, they get 3. Get 3 Stalkers. At the same time, Zelda got 9 SCVs across the map. Reinforcements are on the way. Nicoract rotates over towards the 3rd. Ordinary trying to keep up. There's the NG overcharge. Okay, he has 2 storms. 2 storms left. Up. He has 2. Oh, he has 1. Doesn't want to waste it. He has Storm on the right-hand side. A nice splits here by Nicoract. Again, the storms are not enough. There's the final 3rd storm. Oh, High Templar, they get targeted down. And Ordinary, he barely doesn't have enough. He needs more of an army here. High Templar gets targeted. And Nicoract, he breaks through. GG gets called, and Nicoract will take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Again, Nicoract with the non-stop 2 base all-ins, pulling the boys. Alas, Ordinary did scout what was happening, did realize what was going on, and his response to it was to try to backstab, ideally to force Nicoract back home, to snipe Stim as well. Again, it was 50-50 there. There's definitely a chance where if he had sniped Stim instead of combat shields, then that push would have been so much weaker instead, and there would have been a higher chance for Ordinary to have held and survived and minimized losses more so than he did, and you know, have a stronger response, have a stronger follow-up into a longer game. Regardless, GG, well played. With that, Nicoract does take a lead, and now we're getting into game number 2. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of ley lines, we have the red Terran player. Representing the Platinum Heroes, leading the series 1-0. Automas, 1 more game is all he needs to advance onto the grand finals. It is Nicoract. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the blue Protoss. Down in this series, we'll see if he can force the ace match. I want to believe he can. It is Ordinary. We go. So we are going to be settling in. Just going to be catching up. What about Code B? Can I join Code B? Code B used to be a thing. Not anymore. I mean, like unofficially Code B, right? Like, for those that are curious, there used to be a Code A, which was like the challenger league to Code S, and the qualifier for Code A would like be unofficially Code B. So that's what that would be. But it's been many years since there was like an official Code A. So, yeah, it's been a while. There's never been a Code C, if that's what you're curious about. I don't think there's ever been like any reference to that, I should say. But now though, we're settling in. Going to be settling into our second game. Nicoract going for a single gas opener, so racks into expansion here. Economic start from our Terran player. Meanwhile, Ordinary back at home, just gate expand into, gate Cybercore expand, standard opener out of Ordinary. Here's going to be a standard opener. So in chat, is the mothership size still reduced? No, it has been reverted. The mothership is big again. It is large once again. The reason for that, I believe the rationale was because the mothership can't be targeted by abductions anyway, then there's no need for it to be small. Originally, the reason why it was reduced in size was to make it more difficult to abduct. Or I say difficult, was to force the Viper to be closer to be able to abduct, just because the size was reduced, so it had to move closer to the object itself. But because it can't be abducted anymore, now it's big again. As a heads up. As from here, we have a Twilight Council opener out of Ordinary. Going to be Twilight Council into Blink. The question becomes, how many gateways? How many gateways here for our Protoss? We'll see. Is it going to be 2-gate Blink, 3-gate Blink, or 4-gate Blink Stalker? Meanwhile, across the map, we do have Nicoract just getting into his own follow-up here. Again, economic start. Because that economic start, that means that there's no committed Reaper Hellion aggression that we saw in the previous game. This time, we're calming things down that much more. I think it's just typical ranking in Asia. S, A, B, C. Yeah. For whatever reason, in Asia, that's how rankings work. Like, S tier is like top tier. Then you have like A below it. But that's just how rankings work. I don't know the rationale. I'm sure there's like proper like lore behind it. Why, like in games like Street Fighter or something, when you get like a perfect score, like it's S rank, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know where that started or how it started, but you know, that's a thing. It's a code S. Did it start in Street Fighter? I don't know. Did it start in Capcom games? No idea. If anyone can impart their wisdom on that mythology, then do so in the chat. As that, yeah, I'm asking for like rationale behind it though. But yeah, I'm sure there's more reason as to why that is the case. From here though, we are going to be settling in. We do have our initial stalkers warping into the main just in time. Drop is going to be coming in at the same time. Nicoract going to be threatening a dive in towards the natural. Oh, wall's wide open. The wall is wide open. He can go into the middle line, and 3 Hellions that will one-shot probes. The probes are going to be going down. Brutal connections. Likewise in the main base. Ordinary, he's struggling to hold on. No shield battery. No shield battery in the main. Medevac can be targeted, but the Marines themselves, they focus on the Stalkers. Medevac goes down, but this is still a better trade for Nicoract. Ay, ay, ay. Gets 9, 10, 11 probe kills. 11 workers go down. And with that, Ordinary, he does start off with a really rough start here. His economy is going to be crippled. He's moving out across the map. If I would have guessed it was different. So what I was referring to, I mean, it's okay. We can move on subject wise. I was referring to the rationale as to why the letter S was chosen over all others. I think originally S stood for super in Capcom games. Again, I think it started in Capcom games from my earliest of memories, but maybe it started in a different game genre first. Maybe. Anyway, we can just focus on our follow-up. As Ordinary does dive into the main, we'll be delaying the CC. Not bad. Does delay. And this is some damage, but he won't quite force to cancel. Behind this, Ordinary taking a third. Trying to build back up. Nicoract, he does have a nice lead for himself with that economic advantage. Likewise, Tank Boy is going up. We do delay the CC for a little bit longer, but oh, that was brutal. That was going to be another... Oh, just waiting for the battle report to update. Was another 2 Stalkers going down. 3 Stalkers going down there for that denial. Not quite worth it for Ordinary. Ay, ay, ay. With that Ordinary, his role here is to try to bounce back. Now, to bounce back in this game, when you're in this kind of position here, one of the ways would be for a big counterattack, would be for a Zealot run by as the main army moves out, or a Stalker counterattack. Otherwise, DTs, trying to rush tech-wise into something like Storm or something like Disruptors can be a good way to bounce back with a little bit more of a supply-efficient army. The army gets spotted, though, and Ordinary has to try and sort up a defense. Try and set up a defense here back at home. Sentries, force field's going to be available. There's the NG overcharge as well. There's 1 Colossus, but really there's just not much of an army here to help support the Colossus. We need some kind of buffer, and the force fields need to be on point. Even then, though, there's 3 tanks. Nicoract, he stims in. Does stim in. Nice force fields that will slow him down. Will slow him down as tanks. They do siege up. Tank Boy is going to be going up in the Colossus. Once again, they're very nice force fields. And Ordinary, he's holding. He is holding on. At the same time, as they'll run back towards the north side, we do get 5 SCVs. Very nice damage. And now the opposite is true here. With the tanks, they're exposed. They have no support. And tanks are going to be going down. A nice skin up here by Ordinary. Shuts down all the tanks and will force this back. In the process, saves all of his Colossus. Going for the Raven. And again, a lot of this defense came down to the force fields. Time and time again, Ordinary doing an amazing job of just slicing up the army, cutting it in half. Fighting only a portion at a time. And now Nicoract is being forced back. is being forced all the way back. Leading out more Marauders. Nice blink control there by Ordinary. Blinking back. And with that, Ordinary holds. Ordinary does hold. Here we go. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, I wasn't sure about that. So fun fact, so I just looked it up. Basically, I knew that we knew that S tier originated from either Asia or Japan, and that's why I was talking about Capcom. Apparently, it's used in academic rating in Japan, and that's where it came from. Like, it's so the reason why it was in the games is because it's just part of the culture in Japan. It just, yeah, there you go. So in Japan, instead of A+, it's S. There you go. It's like the Japanese word for exemplary, which would be like, I guess in English, the equivalent would be like distinctions, or like high distinction, like exemplary. Oh, there you go. Learn something new every day. It's up to school. Yeah, up to school. But like, apparently that's I guess where it would have started. Good to know. Your homeowner, are you S rank? Let's go. No, homeowner, he's in Japan. Meanwhile, Nova's gonna be going off. Ooh, but the Colossus are gonna be shut down by the Vikings. Jesus, there's so many Vikings. The Vikings, they shut down the Colossi. Unfortunately, no other form of splash damage. Disruptors are on the way, but alas, Ordinary, he needs more time. And he doesn't have that time. As Nicoract, he does rock up and knocks down the base. DTs, they try to come in to help support, but alas, we have plenty of scans available, or at least we should have. As Nicoract, he breaks through the main army, gets on top of the base, knocks down the fourth, and gets them in from there. And unfortunately, the Disruptors, they were just too little too late. As Nicoract, he just barrels through the army. Sims on in. Nova goes off, but Disruptor gets focused. And the Nova will not connect. And with that, Nicoract, he's snowballing out of control. I mean, sure, there are reinforcements coming in. Nova goes up, grazes the army as well. Nicoract, he is running out of reinforcements. Will have to back up. But back at home, he's on 3 bases. He's getting a 4th base up and running. His economy is looking solid. And Nicoract, he already has a 2nd army. He has a 2nd force, this time with Ghosts, this time with EMPs. He's looking to just end it from here, just snowball out of control. Ordinary back at home is trying to reestablish his bases. There is a chance if he can land some Novas that he can try and stem the tide and slow this down, but there's just so much of a supply to work with that even with 1 or 2 good Novas, because there's just so little on the ground here for Ordinary, it's not going to be enough. Nova goes up, gets a Ghost, 2nd Nova. Up! Oh, does overshoot. And again, even if it didn't overshoot, Nicoract can still push through. Meanwhile, auto start harassing towards the natural. Calibur is going to be going down. Going to be 7 workers. We're waiting for those EMPs. As Nicoract, he's almost maxed out. Black-White Prism into the main, but there are Liberators. The Liberation shuts him down. Not like this. No, every time I look at the corner of the map, I'm still like caught off guard by this. Like the giant jet engines. Jesus. We be zooming, Pappy. We be zooming. Are they both headed in like... Are they both pushing inward? Or are they pushing out? Like, what's happening here? Are we compressing the station? Is that what's happening? Are we compressing ley lines? As Nicoract stims on forward, sets up his liberation zone, he's going to be going up. Ooh, they do connect! Oh god, but that's going to be 4 Disruptors going down. With that, GG gets called, and Nicoract, he will take the series 2-0. Will advance on to the grand finals. GG. GG. GG, well played at Nicoract. He will claim the series. Again, Chance did have some nice moments in this game. I was very impressed with the initial defense when it came to the force fields, when it came to his initial Colossus defense as well. It was very well done. Unfortunately, in the follow-up from that, he wasn't quite able to keep up. He wasn't quite able to replicate that success when it came to the second push of all those Vikings. We saw Nicoract did snowball out of control, and with that, we are getting ready here for our next series. We're getting ready for our next semifinals. Let us go. I do need a moment to set up the players.